The yogurt industry is a multi-billion-dollar space, worth over $100 billion globally. And it's no longer just about hunger or convenience. It's about influence, selling health narratives, lifestyle identity, and good-for-you sweetness in a cup. Behind the clean packaging and fitness-friendly branding sits a highly engineered category where sugar, additives, stabilizers, and flavor science often do more work than the ingredients themselves. What looks like simple dairy is designed for food marketing dressed as wellness. In 11 yogurt brands, to skip and 4 that are actually real yogurt, we strip away the labels and buzzwords to expose the truth behind the aisle. And the rare brands still committed to authentic yogurt. Number 11, Yoplait. It may wear a bright, cheerful label, but many health-conscious shoppers say the contents tell a very different story. One of the biggest complaints is the sugar overload hiding inside those tiny cups. Some flavored varieties pack around 18 to 19 grams of sugar per serving, dangerously close to dessert territory rather than a healthy breakfast. Critics also point to the long ingredient lists loaded with modified cornstarch, gelatin, flavorings, and thickening agents that make the yogurt feel more engineered than naturally cultured. Adding fuel to the fire, Yoplait voluntarily recalled certain drinkable yogurt products over fears that plastic pieces may have contaminated the packaging. One furious customer online even claimed they discovered bits of plastic after taking a bite, calling the experience dangerous and disgusting. Then comes the taste debate. Plenty of consumers online swear every variety tastes almost identical, just different levels of sugary artificial mush hiding behind brighter fruit labels. Nutrition experts often warn that flavored yogurts with heavy added sugars can contribute to weight gain, blood sugar spikes, and poor eating habits when eaten regularly. That is why many shoppers now ditch sugary supermarket yogurts altogether and switch to plain yogurt with real fruit instead. Number 10, YoCrunch, the brand that looks like it was designed by a sugar-crazed carnival manager. Bright colors? Check. Candy explosions? Absolutely. Nutrition? Well, that part gets a little shaky. Critics have slammed the brand for packing some varieties with heavy amounts of added sugar, artificial flavors, processed toppings, and enough dessert-style mix-ins to make the actual yogurt feel like a background actor in its own movie. And while the toppings may be the star attraction, they have also sparked the biggest controversy around the brand. In 2025, Dannon issued a nationwide recall of YoCrunch products after concerns that plastic fragments may have entered the separately packaged topper domes. The FDA warned the pieces could create a choking hazard, instantly turning the word crunch into something far less appetizing. Taste-wise, YoCrunch divides consumers sharply. Fans love the candy-style sweetness, but critics say the yogurt itself often tastes overly processed and excessively sweet, with the sugary toppings overpowering everything else in the cup. Many health-conscious shoppers argue that once you dump cookies, candies, and syrupy mix-ins into yogurt, it stops being breakfast and starts auditioning for the dessert menu. Number 9, Activia. Activia built its empire on the promise of a happier stomach, smoother digestion, and scientifically proven wellness. But lately, many longtime fans say the yogurt itself is what is giving them trust issues. Since the reported 2025 formula change, consumers across review sites and forums have complained that Activia has gone from thick and creamy to thin, watery, and strangely runny, like somebody accidentally diluted the yogurt with a splash of sink water before sealing the cup. Others say the taste lost its rich tang and now feels flatter, sweeter, and oddly artificial. It is not left out in the sugar complains. Critics argue that for a brand marketed as a digestive health superstar, some Activia flavors carry surprisingly high sugar levels. That gut-friendly image has also faced legal heat before. In 2010, Danone settled with the FTC over allegations that some advertising exaggerated the yogurt's health benefits and suggested scientific proof that went beyond the evidence. Ironically, the yogurt designed to calm your stomach can also start a small rebellion inside it. Because Activia is loaded with probiotics, Some new users report bloating, gas, cramps, or even diarrhea while their digestive system adjusts. Number 8. Chobani. This one may be one of America's yogurt superstars, but behind the rustic farm-style branding and natural image, the company has faced a storm of criticism that keeps bubbling back to the surface. For years, consumers and lawsuits have challenged whether the brand's marketing truly matches what is inside the cup. Some legal complaints accuse Chobani of using misleading only natural ingredients, claims while allegedly containing synthetic or highly processed components. Other lawsuits targeted its zero sugar and nutrition-focused labeling, arguing the messaging could confuse shoppers looking for genuinely clean products. Then comes the taste debate, and people have opinions. While many fans love Chobani's thick Greek texture, critics say some flavors can taste overly tart, chalky, or strangely artificial despite the wholesome branding. Online reviewers regularly complain about overpowering sweeteners, weird aftertastes, or fruit blends that taste more like flavored syrup than real strawberries or vanilla. And let's talk sugar. Nutrition critics have repeatedly warned that several flavored Chobani products carry sugar levels high enough to blur the line between healthy breakfast and sneaky dessert. Even some Reddit users joke that modern yogurt brands are basically candy cups wearing yoga pants. Number 7. Dannon Light and Fit. It is the guilt-free yogurt that promises indulgence without consequences, but has still managed to attract plenty of side-eye from consumers. At first glance, it's the dream combo: low-fat, low-calorie, and aggressively marketed as a smart choice for weight-conscious shoppers. But critics argue that what you lose in calories, you often gain back in additives. Many varieties rely on artificial sweeteners like sucralose and acesulfame potassium to deliver that sweet taste without sugar, which some consumers say leaves a noticeable chemical aftertaste or lingering artificial edge. Texture is another common complaint. Fans of thick, creamy yogurt often describe Light and Fit as overly smooth, almost gel-like, lacking the richness people expect from dairy. Others say the fruit flavors feel more like flavoring agents than real fruit, giving the whole experience a engineered snack vibe rather than something natural from a farm. There's also the perception gap. While the branding screams healthy lifestyle, critics point out that highly processed low-fat yogurts can sometimes feel more like diet food science than real food. Some consumers even report that the sweetness tricks them into eating more, blurring the line between health food and dessert in disguise. Number 6. Kite Hill. It is the almond-based healthy yogurt darling that sits in Whole Foods, looking calm, minimal, and very expensive. Until you read the complaints. Kite Hill built its reputation on being dairy-free, clean label, and artisanal, but consumer feedback tells a messier story. One of the most common frustrations is inconsistent texture. Some tubs are silky and thick, others arrive watery, separated, or oddly grainy, as if the product changed personalities mid-production. Shoppers also complain that the taste can swing from pleasantly mild to chalky almond paste. Then there's the quality control chatter. There is repeated mention of issues like spoiling before expiration dates, separation, and occasional mold reports, raising questions about consistency in cold chain handling and manufacturing stability. On top of that, critics argue Kite Hill leans heavily on marketing health halo language while delivering a product that can feel underwhelming for the price, especially compared to traditional dairy Greek yogurts. Some consumers say it tastes like a compromise, less creamy than dairy, less satisfying than dessert, and still somehow priced like it belongs in a spa. In short, Kite Hill is the yogurt equivalent of a luxury promise with unpredictable delivery, sometimes elegant, sometimes disappointing, and rarely in the middle. Number 5. Danimals. The kid-focused yogurt looks innocent, playful, and lunchbox friendly, until you zoom in on what parents actually say about it. Danimals is marketed as a fun, drinkable snack for children, often decorated with cartoon branding and good-for-you messaging. But in parent forums and review threads, the tone shifts fast. One of the biggest recurring criticisms is how sweet it tastes. Many parents describe it less like yogurt and more like liquid candy in disguise, with sugar levels that make them pause before tossing it into a school bag. Another common gripe is the ingredient list. While it's positioned as a nutritious kid's snack, critics point to added sugars, flavorings, and stabilizers that make it feel more processed than wholesome. Some parents say they bought it expecting a healthier alternative to juice boxes, only to realize it sits closer to dessert territory than breakfast nutrition. There's also the same taste syndrome complaint, a quiet but consistent observation that multiple flavors don't actually taste all that different once the sweetness kicks in. Strawberry, berry, vanilla, it all melts into one sugary blur. For many households, Danimals isn't dangerous or scandalous. It's just the classic case of a product marketed as health food for kids, but experienced by parents as candy with a yogurt label. Number 4. Siggi's. It is the Icelandic-style yogurt that built a cult following on minimal ingredients, thick texture, and less is more branding, but still attracts its fair share of online side-eye once you move past the aesthetic jar. On paper, Siggi's is the anti-sugar hero of the yogurt aisle, but consumers circle around a different tension: the texture shock and flavor restraint. Some first-time buyers describe it as almost aggressively thick, with a tartness that feels closer to strained cultured dairy than the sweet dessert-style yogurts many Americans are used to. That contrast is exactly what loyal fans love, and what others find hard to adjust to. That's not all. While Siggi's is known for lower sugar than many mainstream brands, critics point out that low sugar can also translate into a flavor profile that feels muted or overly sour depending on the variety. This has led to a split identity online, health purists praising it, while casual yogurt eaters describe it as too plain for the price. Ingredient-wise, Siggi's generally avoids the long additive lists that plague many competitors. But that hasn't stopped conversations about whether premium pricing is justified for what is essentially strained yogurt with minimal sweetening. Even without scandal-level controversy or recalls, Siggi's lives in a quieter kind of scrutiny, the kind where expectations, branding, and taste reality constantly negotiate with each other. Number 3. Stonyfield. It has built its reputation on organic ingredients and eco-friendly branding, but shoppers frequently bring up a different side of the story. One of the most common complaints is taste variability. Some batches are praised for being creamy and tangy, while others are described as oddly sour, thin, or inconsistent in texture, especially across different product lines. Another recurring theme is the health halo pressure gap. Consumers say the branding sets expectations so high, organic, clean, wholesome, that even small flaws feel exaggerated. When the texture is slightly runny or the flavor a bit off, disappointment hits harder than it would with a cheaper, less marketed brand. There's also debate around sugar levels in flavored versions, with critics arguing that even organic yogurt can quietly drift into dessert territory once fruit and sweeteners are added. Some consumers express frustration that organic doesn't automatically mean low sugar or high-performance nutrition. Luckily, Stonyfield hasn't faced major recall scandals like some competitors, but its reputation online shows a quieter truth. Even clean yogurt brands can struggle with consistency, expectations, and trust once they leave the farm-themed packaging and meet real-world spoons. Number 2. Oikos. Don't be fooled by the cute cup haul of fame. On paper, Oikos sells itself as thick, high-protein Greek yogurt with a clean, simple image. But critics argue the reality can feel more complicated. Across consumer forums and reviews, a recurring complaint is taste inconsistency and heavy sweetness in flavored varieties, with some users saying certain cups taste closer to dessert than a protein snack. Others describe an artificial aftertaste that doesn't match the authentic Greek branding. Then comes the sugar conversation. Again, even though Oikos is marketed as a healthier choice, several flavored versions contain sugar levels that nutrition critics say can rival indulgent snacks rather than a fitness staple. That gap between healthy image and sweet reality is where a lot of frustration lives. There's also been broader scrutiny of Danone-owned yogurt brands over labeling and marketing practices. While Oikos itself hasn't faced a major FDA recall crisis in recent years, the parent company has been repeatedly flagged in public reporting and lawsuits around misleading health positioning and ingredient transparency concerns across its yogurt portfolio. Number 1. Müller Corner. The European import-style yogurt has turned breakfast into a mix-it-yourself experience and quietly become a lightning rod for sugar and marketing debates in the US. Müller Corner is built on a simple idea: creamy yogurt on one side, candy, chocolate, or fruit compote on the other. The ritual is the appeal. Flip, pour, mix, and suddenly you've customized your snack. But critics argue that the magic trick hides a familiar issue. This is essentially dessert engineering in 2 compartments. Buyers complain how quickly the yogurt loses its healthy identity once the mix-ins are added. Chocolate balls, caramel swirls, and fruit syrups can push sugar levels into territory more associated with pudding cups than functional dairy snacks. Some reviewers even describe it as a dessert pretending to be interactive, where the fun format distracts from the nutritional reality. Another recurring observation is consistency across flavors, or the lack of it. Certain varieties are praised for balance, while others are called overwhelmingly sweet, with the yogurt base struggling to stand up against the dominant toppings. Unlike brands that rely on health claims or probiotic promises, Müller Corner leans into indulgence, but still sits in that awkward middle space. Marketing suggests treat meets yogurt, while consumer sentiment often lands firmly on just call it dessert and be honest about it. After wading through all that sugar-slick marketing, lab-coated promises, it gets easier to see the pattern. Not every cup in the dairy aisle deserves trust. So here are 4 safer yogurt options worth considering. The ones that tend to keep things simpler, cleaner, and far more honest about what they are. Number 1. Fage Total Greek Yogurt. If there's one yogurt that consistently gets a nod from nutritionists, parents, and the I actually read labels crowd, it's Fage Total Greek Yogurt. This is the quiet, no-drama option in a dairy aisle full of loud promises. What makes it stand out is brutally simple: milk and live cultures. That's it in the plain versions. No added sugar, no fruit syrups, no candy disguises hiding in the corner of the cup. For parents, this matters because it removes the biggest concern in kids' snacks: hidden sugar that quietly pushes up daily intake and contributes to weight gain over time. Texture-wise, Fage is thick and dense, almost spoon-stubborn, which helps it feel more filling. That's a big win for anyone trying to manage appetite or avoid constant snacking. It also has a naturally tangy taste, which means you control the sweetness. Add fresh fruit, honey, or nothing at all depending on preference. Compared to heavily flavored yogurts, Fage tends to generate far fewer complaints about ingredients or formulation changes. The trade-off is honesty. It doesn't try to taste like dessert pretending to be health food. It tastes like yogurt, and that simplicity is exactly why it earns trust. Number 2. Chobani Plain, non-flavored line. Not all Chobani products sit in the same sweetened snack category that gets so much criticism online. The plain Greek yogurt line is actually where the brand earns its more trusted reputation among parents and nutrition-focused shoppers. The key safety factor here is control. With the plain versions, there is no added sugar, which immediately removes the biggest concern linked to childhood weight gain and hidden daily sugar intake. Instead, you're dealing with a short, readable ingredient list: cultured milk and live active cultures. That simplicity is what makes it feel more like a base food than a processed snack. Parents often appreciate that it forces intentionality. If a child eats it, it's not because it was engineered to be dessert-like. It's because something was added consciously, like fruit, nuts, or a drizzle of honey. That shift matters in building healthier eating habits over time. It also tends to perform well in satiety. The thick Greek texture helps kids feel full longer, which reduces constant snacking cycles that many packaged yogurts unintentionally encourage. Unlike flavored versions that attract complaints about sweetness or artificial taste drift, The plain line avoids most controversy entirely. Number 3. Nancy's Probiotic Whole Milk Yogurt. If most yogurts are trying to impress you with packaging tricks or dessert-level sweetness, Nancy's takes a very different route. It quietly leans into old-school fermentation and lets the microbes do the talking. What makes Nancy's stand out in the safer choice category is its reputation for live, diverse probiotic cultures. Nutrition-focused consumers often highlight it as a yogurt that feels less engineered and more traditionally fermented, which is exactly what many parents look for when choosing something gentle for kids' digestion. It's also proudly American-based, produced by Springfield Creamery in Oregon, a family-run company that's been part of the U.S. natural food movement since the 1960s, long before gut health became a marketing slogan. On the safety and ingredient side, Nancy's plain versions are typically short-label products: milk, cultures, and not much else. That simplicity helps it avoid the usual complaints around artificial sweeteners, sugar overload, or overly processed textures that show up in many mainstream brands. Online discussion tends to focus less on controversy and more on preference. Some consumers love its tangy, slightly sour profile. Others find it too authentic compared to sweeter yogurts. But importantly, it rarely appears in conversations about recalls or misleading health claims. Number 4. Wallaby Organic Yogurt. Unlike the loud candy swirl, health halo yogurts that dominate supermarket shelves, Wallaby sits in the background like a calm, consistent option parents actually don't have to second guess. Made by a US-based organic dairy company, it has built its reputation on simple ingredients, organic milk, and a deliberately slow Australian-style culturing process that gives it a naturally smooth, custard-like texture. Where it earns its safe choice reputation is what it doesn't do. No artificial sweeteners in the plain line, no gimmicky toppings trying to disguise sugar levels. And importantly for parents, the plain versions allow full control over sweetness, meaning fruit, honey, or nothing at all, depending on how strict you want to be about sugar intake and weight management concerns. Consumer feedback tends to be quiet but positive rather than dramatic. Instead of lawsuits, recalls, or ingredient scandals, discussions around Wallaby usually sound like, "This is just reliable yogurt." Some describe it as mild, slightly tangy, and easy on the stomach compared to more aggressively fermented brands. It's also frequently recommended in health-focused grocery guides for its short ingredient list and organic certification, which appeals to families trying to avoid ultra-processed foods without overthinking every lab. The yogurt aisle isn't as innocent as it looks. Behind the labels hide sugar traps, shaky formulas, and marketing spin. Choose wisely, or you're just eating dessert in disguise. And if this shocked you, watch the 11 butter brands to skip and 4 that are still real butter.